In the storerooms of the British Museum sit nearly 1,000 brass plaques, cast centuries before Columbus crossed the Atlantic, in a style so refined that European scholars once refused to believe African hands had made them. Someone in Egypt must have cast them, one theory claimed. The truth was simpler, and more uncomfortable for the people making those claims. The plaques came from a West African kingdom with its own courts, guilds, and centuries of history cast directly into metal. A kingdom Britain destroyed in 17 days, then spent 100 years trying to explain away. This is the story of the Kingdom of Benin, centered on what is now Benin City in southern Nigeria. It is not the story of a lost civilization. Its throne is still occupied. Its bronze casters still work the same street their ancestors did. What was lost was independence, and an almost unimaginable volume of art. By the late 13th century, Benin was already a sophisticated state, ruled by a king called the Oba, and governed through hereditary chiefs and guilds. Oral tradition holds that bronze casting arrived at court under Oba Ogwola, who sent for a master craftsman from the neighboring kingdom of Ife. Even within Benin's own oral history, accounts of exactly how the craft took root differ, and historians still can't say with certainty which version is closer to the truth. What can be said with confidence is this: a guild of bronze casters formed under direct royal patronage, functioning as something closer to a royal archive than an art studio. Every plaque recorded something real: a coronation, a victory, a visiting dignitary. History, kept in brass, because Benin had no need for paper. When Portuguese ships reached the coast in the 1400s, they found a kingdom with no interest in being conquered. Benin controlled trade deep into the interior, dealing in pepper, ivory, and palm oil, and, in a chapter no honest account can leave out, in enslaved people as well. For nearly 400 years, Benin dealt with Europeans on its own terms, while much of the West African coast fell under one European flag or another. Into the late 1800s, while Britain carved up the continent, Benin remained independent. To British merchants demanding open access to rubber and palm oil, that had become intolerable. The pressure built for years, through treaties historians still argue over in terms of how much the Oba understood he was agreeing to. Then, in March of 1896, Oba Ovonramwen halted the flow of palm oil through his kingdom, and British traders demanded the Foreign Office Act. That task fell to Acting Consul General James Phillips, who in November decided to march into Benin City himself, unarmed and against explicit warning, during a period the court had closed to outsiders for religious rites. On January 4th, 1897, his party of roughly 250 was ambushed near the village of Ugbine. Historians still debate whether the Oba himself argued against the attack and was overruled by his military commander. Only 2 men in Phillips's party survived. Within a week, London authorized what it called, with a precision of language that still unsettles historians, a Punitive Expedition. 1,200 British troops arrived under Admiral Harry Rawson, with written orders to burn every town in their path and hang the Oba wherever he was found. Benin's defenders fought with spears and cutlasses against rifles and machine guns. It was not a contest. By February the 18th, 1897, Benin City had fallen. What happened next is the part museums spent a century avoiding. Soldiers set fire to the city and broke into the palace storerooms, where roughly 2,500 bronze, brass, and ivory objects had been kept. Generations of the guild's work, as a royal archive. Nearly all of it was taken. Some pieces went home with individual officers. The rest were auctioned in Britain to help cover the cost of the very invasion that had produced them. A detail that tells you plainly how the men running the operation understood what they were doing. The Oba was captured, tried in what by any modern standard was a formality, and exiled to a coastal town far from his kingdom, where he died in 1914. That same year, his son returned home and was crowned, restoring the monarchy under British oversight, stripped of political power but never fully extinguished. The current Oba is his direct descendant. The bronzes scattered into museums and private collections across Europe and America. And in doing so, they forced a reckoning nobody who looted them intended. European scholars who had assumed they'd find nothing of value were confronted with craftsmanship so advanced some of them simply refused to believe it was African at all. It took decades before the wider art world accepted what Benin's own oral tradition had never doubted. In recent years, that history has begun, slowly and unevenly, to reverse. Museums in Germany, Britain, and the United States have started returning pieces, negotiated through talks that remain genuinely contested, including disagreement over who within Nigeria should receive them, and renewed scrutiny of the fact that Benin's own wealth was tied to its participation in the slave trade. None of that is finished history. It's still being negotiated right now. What is finished is this. In 17 days in February 1897, a kingdom that had kept its independence for 4 centuries lost it by force, along with a royal archive centuries in the making. But the guild survived, re-established within 20 years, and still works today. The palace burned. The kingdom did not disappear. And the plaques still sitting in museum cases thousands of miles from where they were made remain exactly what they always were, not curiosities. A history a kingdom wrote about itself, in a language that outlasted the people who tried to take it away.